My wife said, "You're imagining things," as I read the "Goodnight" red text she forgot to delete. For a second I honestly thought I'd misread it. You know that weird double-take your brain does when it's trying to save you from something. I blinked, leaned closer to the screen, felt my throat tighten. The kitchen light reflected off the glass of her phone, so I tilted it a little, fingers already shaking. It was right there in the notification preview, clear as day. "Goodnight read, sleep well, talk tomorrow Roman 20" from a number not saved in her contacts. My stomach dropped. Behind me I heard the bathroom door open and her footsteps padding down the hallway. I didn't put the phone down. I couldn't. It felt glued to my hand. "What are you doing with my phone?" she asked, voice casual in that way that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I turned the screen toward her without saying anything. For a beat her face actually changed, eyes widening, mouth parting, but then it was like a curtain dropped. Her expression smoothed out. "Oh my God, Alex," she said, letting out this short laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "You're imagining things." We'd been together for 11 years, married for 8. 1 kid, a mortgage, matching IKEA bookshelves we argued about assembling. I thought I knew every version of my wife's face, happy, stressed, annoyed, tipsy, lost in a TV show. The one looking back at me in that moment, I'd never seen it before. It was like she was wearing a mask made out of familiar features, but the person underneath was a stranger. I should probably start from before the Goodnight read blew a hole through our very average Wednesday night. I'm 36M, my wife, let's call her Emma, is 35F. We met in our mid-20s at a mutual friend's housewarming. I was the guy standing awkwardly near the snack table pretending to be deeply fascinated by carrot sticks. She was the loud one arguing with someone about whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie. "It is," she insisted. I remember thinking she was way out of my league. She remembers thinking I looked like a nervous golden retriever in a button-up. Somehow that worked for her. We did that intense, early 20s relationship thing, staying up all night talking, shitty share houses, cheap wine, that feeling of us versus the world. I fell in love with how big she was, if that makes sense. Big laugh, big opinions, big heart. When she loved something or someone she loved hard. Back then, that was mostly me, live music, and salted caramel ice cream. We got married at 28 and 27. Small wedding, backyard, fairy lights. Our vows were personal and a bit chaotic. She cried first, I cried harder. Everyone who was there said we were that couple who made them believe in love again. Cringe now, but at the time it felt true. 5 years ago we had our daughter, Lily. She's 4 now, stubborn as hell, obsessed with dinosaurs, the kind of kid who will argue about bedtime like it's a human rights violation. Becoming parents completely rewired us. Sleep deprivation, nappies, tiny laundry everywhere. We went from let's spontaneously drive to the coast at midnight to which brand of wipes gives fewer rashes. It was hard, but we were mostly a team. I'm not going to pretend we were perfect. Around the time Lily turned 2, we hit a rough patch. Money was tight, I was working longer hours to try and impress a new manager, and Emma was struggling with going back to work part-time. She felt guilty leaving Lily, guilty not contributing more money, guilty about basically existing. She tried to talk about it. I tried to fix it instead of listening. Fights became more frequent. Nothing explosive, no plates thrown, no doors slammed, but low-grade tension that never fully went away. We'd go through weeks of being snappy and distant, then have a big talk, promise to do better, and be okay again for a while. Then last year, she got a promotion. Emma works in HR for a mid-sized company. They make some kind of software I pretend to understand. She went from HR advisor to HR manager when her old boss left unexpectedly. It was a big deal. More money, more responsibility, more I have to take this call, it's urgent. I was proud of her. She was proud of herself, which I loved seeing because she's always been quietly insecure under all that boldness. Her hours started creeping up. First it was, I'll be home by 6, we've got a meeting that ran over. Then, I'll miss Lily's bath but I'll do bedtime okay. Then it became normal for her to walk in at 8, 9, sometimes later, smell like office air and other people's coffee, kiss me distractedly, and check her emails on the cooch. When I tried to bring it up gently, "Hey, we miss you at dinner," she'd sigh and say, "It's not forever, babe, I'm under a microscope right now. Once I've proved myself, I can push back." I believed her, I wanted her to succeed. I picked up more around the house, daycare drop-offs, cooking, cleaning, the mental load of what size clothes is Lily in now. My friends started calling me super dad in that half-joking way, which felt nice and also slightly like they were implying my wife wasn't pulling her weight. I defended her. "She's grinding right now," I'd say. "We're a team." The first time I noticed the phone thing was maybe 6 months ago. We were on the cooch, some trashy renovation show on, Lily finally asleep. Emma was half watching, half texting. The screen kept lighting up. She smiled at something, this small, private smile that didn't involve me. I asked, "Who's so funny?" expecting her to say her sister or one of the girls from work I knew. She tilted the screen away from me almost unconsciously. It was a tiny movement, but I felt it like a slap. Just work stuff, she said quickly. Boring. Work is suddenly hilarious, I tried to joke. She rolled her eyes. It's memes about work. Relax. I did, sort of. I didn't push, but over the next few weeks I saw more of that. The phone angled away, her getting up and leaving the room to take calls, notifications disappearing from the lock screen faster than I could read who they were from. Now, I'm not proud of what I did next, but I also know a lot of you would probably do the same. One night, about 3 months ago, her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. It was face up on the vanity. I went in to grab a towel and saw the screen light up. Can't stop thinking about you today from a name I didn't recognize, Ben P. My chest squeezed. I'm a reasonably rational guy. I know people can say flirty-sounding stuff and mean it platonically. I know reading one message out of context is dangerous. I also know my wife had never, in 11 years, had a male friend I hadn't heard of. I stood there like an idiot with a towel in my hand, staring at the notification. The shower was still running. She was humming some song, oblivious. I picked up the phone. I swear my fingers were sweating. I didn't unlock it. Her passcode is one I know, but actually typing it in felt like a line I wasn't ready to cross yet. I just looked. Before I could decide anything, the notification faded. Time's up. The screen went dark. The moment passed. I put the towel down, walked out, heart racing, sat on the bed and had a quiet little argument with myself. Don't be that guy, Alex. You've had trust issues before. Don't project that on her. Yeah, but can't stop thinking about you isn't exactly please see attached HR policy update. She's been stressed. Maybe someone from work is being supportive. She'd tell you if it was weird, right? Would she, would you? When she came out of the shower, hair wet, wrapped in a towel, I was still tying myself in knots. You okay? She asked, glancing at me. Yeah, I lied, just thinking about work. I didn't say anything that night, or the next, or the next. The guilt of almost snooping was weirdly heavy, like a half-formed secret pressing on my tongue. Then small things started piling up. There was a new cologne smell on her clothes sometimes when she came home late. Not perfume, cologne, a distinctly male scent. The first time I noticed it, I mentioned it offhand. You smell like someone else's aftershave. She snorted, probably because I sit in a tiny conference room with 3 dudes all day, she said. Maybe I'll start wearing a hazmat suit. There were new underwear purchases, nothing extreme, but lacy, nicer than the cotton stuff she usually wore to work. When I commented, trying to be light, for me or for HR compliance, she shrugged and said, a girl can't buy new underwear without an inquisition now. There was the fact that she suddenly cared more about her hair on just another Thursday than she had in months. There was the time I walked into the living room and she jumped like she'd been caught, screen minimized so fast it was almost a reflex. Everything okay? I asked. Yep, she said, too bright, just reading the news. I knew something was wrong, but knowing and wanting to know are different beasts. We had one big fight about a month before the Goodnight text incident. Lily was at my mum's for a sleepover, and I'd planned this nice at-home date night, ordered her favorite Thai, rented a movie she'd been talking about, even got the good wine. She texted at 5:30. Running late, big issue with peril, might not be home till 9. I replied, okay, I'll keep dinner warm, try not to work yourself to death, red heart. At 8:45 nothing, I called, no answer. At 9:10 I got a text. Sorry, heading home now, don't wait up, I'm exhausted. She stumbled in at 10:30, hair messy, cheeks flushed. She smelled like wine and that same cologne. Big peril issue, huh? I said, not even attempting to hide the bite in my voice. She dropped her bag a little harder than necessary. Hi, nice to see you too, she said, kicking off her heels. I texted you, I called, I said. I made plans. You could have at least let me know so I didn't sit here like an idiot staring at cold pad thai. I was in a meeting, Alex, she said, marching into the kitchen and opening the fridge like she lived alone. Everything went sideways. My phone was on silent. I'm sorry, okay. What meeting runs 3 hours over with wine? I asked. She froze, hand on the fridge door, slowly turned. Excuse me. You smell like alcohol, I said, and other people's cologne, so unless peril issues are now solved with happy hour, I'm not crazy for asking. Her eyes flashed. We went for a drink after, she said. Everyone did. It's called debriefing. I forgot to text you. That's on me. But don't stand there and act like I committed a crime because I had a glass of wine with colleagues. It's not the wine, I said. It's the pattern. You're not here, Em. Physically, emotionally, any of it. You're always on your phone, always somewhere else. If everything is so innocent, why does it feel like I have to interrogate you to get basic information? She blew out a breath, rubbing her temples. I can't do this right now, she said. I am hanging on by a thread at work. I need you to be my safe place, not another person demanding explanations. I'm sorry I was late. I'm exhausted. Can we please not have this fight? The guilt hit me. I backed down. Okay, I muttered. We'll talk later. We didn't. The next day there was daycare drop-off, a broken printer at my office, her massive presentation. Life rolled on. My unease rolled with it. Fast forward to Wednesday, the day of the text. It was stupidly ordinary. I worked from home that day. Our cat vomited on my hoodie. Lily had a meltdown because her socks felt weird. Emma left at 7:30 with a coffee in one hand and her laptop bag in the other, pecked me on the cheek and yelled, "Love you, there's lasagna in the freezer if I'm late." She did text at 5 to say she'd be home, around 7-ish. At 7:20 she walked in, which for her lately was early. She looked upbeat, tired but lighter than she had in weeks. "Good day?" I asked, plating up dinner. "Yeah," she said, smiling. "Actually, yeah, I feel like I finally got through to the execs about restructuring. They didn't hate my ideas, it was nice." We ate, talked about normal stuff. Lily's new obsession with pretending to be a baby dinosaur, my annoying client, her colleague who microwaves fish. We watched an episode of some series we'd been half keeping up with. She yawned around 9. "I'm wrecked," she said. "I'm going to bed before I fall asleep on the couch." "Go," I said. "I'll put the dishwasher on." She kissed the top of my head and went to brush her teeth. Her phone was on the arm of the couch. Normally, she takes it with her like it's surgically attached. That night, she must have been more tired than she realized. It buzzed. I glanced at it without thinking, the way you glance at a car that honks outside. The banner popped up at the top of the screen. "Goodnight, Red, sleep well, talk tomorrow, Roman 20. From an unsaved number. My brain did that thing where it screens reality for a moment like, surely that's a group chat, your sister something, but it was just a number, no name. My heart started pounding, loud enough that I could hear it in my ears. I grabbed the phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I didn't even think as I entered her passcode. To be honest, I think I did it the same way you type your own PIN at an ATM muscle memory. The Messages app opened. The top conversation was with that unsaved number. I clicked it. It was like stepping into someone else's house and realizing all your furniture is in there. Familiar phrases, but not yours. "Can't wait to see you again. Today dragged, thinking about Saturday. You in bed? Just got home, he's in the lounge, I'll call when I can." Further up. "Last night was wow, your trouble. SHHH, I'm a married mother, remember?" "Yeah." To an idiot who doesn't text you goodnight with hearts. I don't know how long I stood there, scrolling. My hands went cold. My eyes started stinging, but I wasn't crying yet, not really. It was like my body was lagging behind the information. I scrolled up to the top of the thread. The first message was from 4 months ago. "Hey, it's Noah from payroll. This is my personal number if you need anything off the clock." I knew a Noah existed in her office because she mentioned him once. The new payroll guy is actually competent, but I'd never heard about them exchanging personal numbers. There were hundreds of messages, little drips accumulating into a flood. It started relatively tame, jokes about work, memes, complaining about colleagues. Then it slid slowly at first into late-night you-up territory. No direct mention of sex in the last week or so, but plenty of "wish I was there" and "I miss your face" and heart emojis. And of course, that "Goodnight, Red, sleep well, talk tomorrow, Roman 20, sitting there on the latest line. That's when the bathroom door opened. I didn't have time to put the phone down or back out of the conversation. She walked in, rubbing her face with a towel, hair up in a clip, pajamas on. "What are you doing with my phone?" she asked, not angry at first, just surprised. I turned the screen toward her. It was literally still on the last message, her "good night" from earlier that night, and his response underneath. Her eyes flicked to it. I saw the recognition. The way her pupils dilated, the way she inhaled sharply. For half a second I thought this was it. This was the moment she'd crumble and say, "Okay, you saw it, I'll tell you everything." Instead, her face went strangely blank. "Oh," she said, that, my voice cracked on it. "Who is this?" She crossed her arms, which in hindsight was probably to keep them from shaking. "Noah," she said, "from work, you've heard me mention him." He's texting you goodnight with hearts, I said, each word feeling like it had to be dragged out of my chest. You're texting him back with kiss emojis. You've been messaging for months. What the hell, Emma? She sighed. You're imagining things, she said. That was the exact sentence, like she'd had it ready. I laughed, a short, ugly sound. Imagining the words on this screen, I asked, waving the phone a little. Imagining last night was wow, your trouble. Imagining wish I was waking up next to you. She winced almost imperceptibly. You're taking things out of context. Okay, I said, shock giving way to anger now. Give me the context where I miss your body from a coworker is fine. Her jaw clenched. Can you not shout? Lily's asleep. I'm not shouting, I said, even though my voice was definitely louder than normal. I'm just losing my mind a bit. She stepped forward, reaching for the phone. Give it to me, she said. I pulled it back. No, I said, you don't get to play the privacy card now. We share a life, a bed, a child. You've been having what? An emotional affair, a full affair, 3 text messages and a handshake. Tell me straight. Her eyes filled with tears. It's not like that, she said. Then what is it like? She swallowed, looking at the floor. It started as venting, she said quietly. He was just easy to talk to. He gets the pressure I'm under. You don't work there. You don't see how bad it's been. It felt good to have someone say, yeah, that's messed up, instead of just, have you tried not being stressed? That strung because I've absolutely said that exact thing before. Okay, I said, trying to keep the sarcasm dialed down. And at what point did work is stressful turn into hearts and last night was wow? She wiped at her eyes, hands shaking. I don't know, she whispered. It was gradual. We'd joke about stupid stuff, he'd send a meme, we'd laugh. Then one night after drinks he walked me to my car and we kissed. My ears started ringing. Kissed, I repeated hollowly. Once, she rushed to add, it was just a stupid kiss. I freaked out. I told him we couldn't do that again. We kept talking because we still had to work together, but we didn't. It didn't go further. I looked at her, at the messages, at her again. You're lying, I said. She flinched. I'm not. The texts, I said, holding up the phone. He said last night was wow. You replied, I'm sore today. That's not from a kiss, Emma. Color flooded her face. She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally croaked. It only happened twice. Twice, I repeated numbly. I sat down heavily on the couch because my legs suddenly didn't feel trustworthy. The room felt too small, the walls too close, the normal sounds of our house, the fridge humming, the clock ticking, suddenly felt way too loud. How long ago? I asked. She sank onto the opposite armchair, wrapping her arms around herself like she was cold. The first time was the off-site, she said. The talent strategy weekend in March. We drank too much after the sessions, everyone went to the bar. He walked me back to my room and it happened. I swear to God I hated myself the second it was over. I told him it was a mistake, that it couldn't happen again. And the second time? She stared at her hands. About 3 weeks ago, she said. He came over to drop off some documents on a Saturday when you took Lily to your mum's. I know how that sounds. I'm not going to try and spin it into something it's not. I fucked up. Both of us did. I don't have an excuse. The thing is, I'd remembered that Saturday. I texted her from my mum, saying, on our way back, want anything from the shops. She replied, all good, just cleaning and watching trash TV. When I got home, she'd been in different clothes, hair up, living room tidy. I'd kissed her, asked how her quiet time was. She'd smiled and said, nice, I needed it. Why? I asked now, the word felt huge. Why him? Why this? Her eyes brimmed again. I felt invisible, she said. At home, at work I'm the one everyone comes to. People listen to me. They need me. Then I get home and she broke off, biting her lip. I'm what? I pushed. Say it. You're tired, she said softly. You're on your phone. You're worried about money, your mum Lily. You're here, but you're not with me. Every time I tried to talk about how lonely I felt, you'd either crack a joke or shut down. With Noah it felt easy. He flirted, I flirted back. It made me feel wanted again. I didn't think it would go beyond that. I told myself I could handle it. So I made you cheat, I said flatly. No, she said quickly. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not blaming you. I'm just explaining how I got from I'm overwhelmed to I've become the kind of person who does something I swore I'd never do. I let that sit. It hurt because some of it rang true. I had been distant. I had been preoccupied. But there are 1,000 shitty ways people emotionally drift in marriages that don't end with. So then we had sex while our kid was at grandma. Why didn't you tell me? I asked quietly. She laughed, a short, bitter sound. What was I going to say? She asked. Hey, I'm feeling unappreciated, so I've started flirting with a guy from payroll and I'm worried I might sleep with him if I'm not careful. You would have lost your mind. Probably, I admitted. And that would have become the new problem, she said. Your reaction, your feelings. I'd be comforting you, reassuring you, making promises. The actual root of it, me feeling lonely, you being checked out, would stay the same. You could have said I'm lonely, without the part where you did this, I said, gesturing vaguely between her and the phone and the invisible third person in the room. I tried, she said, eyes suddenly blazing. Do you remember the night 3 months ago when I said I felt like a roommate? You laughed and said, at least you're a hot roommate. Then you went back to your laptop. That memory hit me like a slap because I did remember. I'd thought I was lightening the mood. She'd gone weirdly quiet after. I'd assumed she was just tired. The guilt and the betrayal tangled together in my chest until I couldn't figure out where one ended and the other began. We sat there in silence, the only sound the little whir of the dishwasher finishing its cycle. What now? I said eventually, voice barely above a whisper. She swallowed hard. I ended it, she said. When? Last week, she said. I told him we couldn't keep doing this, that it wasn't fair to you, to Lily, to anyone, that I loved my husband and I was making a huge mistake. Last week, I repeated, and in that same week he's still texting you goodnight with hearts. She winced. He's not good at boundaries, she said weakly. You're not good at boundaries, I snapped. You're the one replying. She burst into tears again. I know, she sobbed. I know I've been addicted to the attention, to the way it made me feel. I kept trying to taper off instead of just cutting it. I was scared of completely losing that high. But I swear I decided tonight I was going to show you the messages and come clean. I just chickened out. I stared at her. You decided to show me, I said, and then conveniently left your phone next to me unlocked so your conscience could outsource the job. She let out a wet laugh. Maybe, she admitted. I don't know. I've been walking around with this weight in my chest for months. I haven't slept properly in weeks. Every time you looked at me, I felt like I had liar written on my forehead. Good, I said before I could stop myself. She flinched again. I'm not saying that because I enjoy you suffering, I added, rubbing my eyes. I'm saying, if you'd been breezing around like nothing was wrong, I'd be even more freaked out about who you are. We talked until nearly 2 a.m. It wasn't really a conversation so much as a series of explosions, silences, and working through rubble. I asked every question my shocked brain could come up with. She answered most of them, sometimes halting, sometimes defensive, sometimes honest in a way that made me want to crawl out of my own skin. Yes, they used condoms. No, they didn't do it at our house more than once. No, they didn't talk about leaving their partners and running away together. Yes, he has a girlfriend. Long term, she doesn't know. No, she never brought him around Lily. At some point I realized my hands were clenched so tightly my nails were digging into my palms. At another point I realized I was crying without really noticing when it started. Around 1:30 Emma said, "Do you want me to sleep in the spare room?" Something in me snapped at that. "Sleep," I said. "You think I'm going to sleep?" She looked so small in that moment, curled up on the armchair in her stupid penguin pajamas. This woman who'd always seemed larger than life to me, now shrunken under the weight of her own choices. I don't know what I want, I said finally, except to not be near you, which sounds fucked up but is where I'm at. She nodded, tears spilling silently now. Okay, she whispered. I'll take the spare room. She stood slowly, grabbed a pillow from the couch, and walked down the hallway. I listened to the door click shut. I sat there on the couch in the dark, staring at her phone on the coffee table. At the top of the screen, the conversation with unsaved number still glared at me. I almost texted him. Something like, "This is Emma's husband. Lose her number," something petty, something nuclear. I didn't, not then. I wish I could say I made some noble, clear-headed decision that night. I didn't. I just existed, went through the motions. Eventually, around 4 a.m., I dozed off sitting up. Woke up stiff and disoriented at 6 when Lily padded out in her dinosaur pajamas and asked for cartoons. I put on Bluey, made her breakfast on autopilot, packed her daycare bag. I told Emma to get ready for work like usual, because I didn't know how to blow up our lives in the 15 minutes before we had to get a 4-year-old out the door. She looked at me with this desperate hope when I said it, like maybe that meant we could shove everything into a box labeled "deal with later." We couldn't, but we did, temporarily. I dropped Lily at daycare, sat in my car, and finally did what I probably should have done months earlier, called my best friend. Sam and I have been friends since high school. He's crass, honest, and alarmingly good at sensing when I'm not okay. Yo, he said when he picked up, you sound like shit. I laughed, which came out more like a sob. Emma cheated on me, I said, no preamble, no warm-up. The words felt like broken glass in my mouth. There was a pause. What? I told him, not everything, but the broad strokes. The texts, Noah, the 2 times, the hearts, the you're imagining things. Fucked, he said finally. Fuck man, I don't even have a joke for this. Are you okay? No, I said, I don't think so. He was quiet for a bit, then he said, listen, I'm going to say something you're not going to listen to right now, but I'm going to say it anyway. None of this is your fault. You didn't make her do this, you didn't imagine it. You didn't somehow manifest it because you were paranoid. She chose it, repeatedly, that's on her. I wanted to believe him. I also had this loop in my head of every moment I'd been emotionally absent, every half-listened to story, every time I'd chosen doom scrolling over actually connecting. It was like my brain was constructing a PowerPoint of all the ways I'd fallen short, while my heart screamed, yeah, but I didn't sleep with anyone. Over the next few days, things were weirdly normal, and completely not normal at the same time. We agreed, for Lily's sake, to keep the basic routine going that week. Same daycare, same pickup, same bedtime stories. We didn't tell anyone yet. It felt too raw, too messy to be reduced to, hey, so we might be separating. We talked at night after she put Lily to bed, sometimes for hours, sometimes for 10 minutes before one of us said, I can't do this right now, and retreated to separate rooms. She cried a lot, so did I. She blocked Noah on everything without me even asking. Showed me the messages. Her I can't talk to you anymore, this was a huge mistake. His I thought we had something real, you're just going back to your safe life, wow okay. Seeing his anger weirdly helped because it confirmed she actually had pulled the plug before I found out. It also made me want to punch him and shake her, potentially at the same time. On day 3, she said, I've booked an appointment with a therapist. For me, I need to figure out why I did this before I can even begin to ask you to forgive me. On day 4, I booked one for myself. That first therapy session, the psychologist asked, what brings you here? And I just cried. For the first 10 minutes, when I finally pulled myself together, I said, my wife says I'm imagining things, but her actions say otherwise. We unpacked a lot. My previous relationships, which included one where my girlfriend cheated on me in college, and then managed to convince our mutual friends I was controlling for having a problem with it. My tendency to doubt my own read on situations, my habit of minimizing my own feelings to keep the peace. You've been gaslighting yourself for years, the psychologist said gently, so when she did it to you, it slotted neatly into a pattern. That hit me harder than I expected. 3 weeks have passed since the night of the text. I wish I could say I have some neat, Reddit-satisfying update like, I kicked her out and now I'm thriving, or we went to counseling and are stronger than ever. The truth is way muddier. For now, I've moved into the spare room. We told Lily that Mummy and Daddy are a bit sad and need some space, but we both love you very much. She accepted that in the way 4-year-olds accept most things, then immediately asked for a snack. We haven't told our families the full story yet. My mum knows we're having problems. Emma's sister suspects more because Emma cried on the phone to her the other night, and I heard my name and Noah in the same sentence. That's going to be a fun conversation when it fully lands. At work, I'm functioning on autopilot. I do my tasks, smile when required, then come home and exist in this weird limbo where my wife is both here and not here. Some nights we sit at opposite ends of the couch, watching TV and saying nothing. Some nights we talk like humans who have known each other for a decade, not just 2 broken people clinging to a shared history. Some nights she knocks on the spare room door and asks if she can come in just to talk, and I say yes, and then we both end up crying on the floor. Friends have had predictable reactions in the few cases I've told them. Sam is firmly in the once a cheater, always a cheater, burn it down camp. Another friend from work who went through something similar says, it's possible to rebuild if you both do the work, but you'll never get back the exact same relationship. You'll be building something new with a crack down the middle you both always know is there. Emma keeps saying I will do whatever it takes. She's been to 2 therapy sessions already. She wrote a letter I haven't brought myself to read yet. It's sitting in a drawer by my bed. She suggested couples counseling. I said maybe, I haven't decided. The thing I keep circling back to isn't even the sex, though obviously that sucks. It's the months of lying. It's looking back at all the times I thought, am I imagining this? And hearing her voice, you're imagining, believing it, at least partly, over my own gut. Like the night I found that bar receipt in her coat pocket for a place near her office, 2 cocktails, 1 appetizer, date-like. When I asked, she said, team drinks, stop snooping. I apologized, felt crazy. Now I look back and think, no, that was a reasonable question. Like the time she accused me of being paranoid when I said I felt like we were more like roommates lately. "You're overthinking," she'd said, and I'd laughed it off, made a joke. I'm trying to grow the part of me that trusts my own perception again. I don't know yet what I'm going to do long term. Divorce suddenly went from being this abstract concept to a real option sitting on the table between us. It would blow up our lives, our finances, Lily's world. It would also remove me from a situation where I'm always wondering if the next Goodnight Red is hidden deeper this time. Staying means choosing to rebuild something with someone who proved they're capable of lying to my face while kissing our kid goodnight. It also means honoring the fact that humans are messy, and she seems genuinely gutted by her own actions. There is no version of this where I don't walk away with scars. I'm writing this here partly because I needed to get it out of my head, and partly because if you're reading this in bed next to someone who claims you're imagining things, while your gut screams that something is off, I want to tell you, you're not crazy for noticing patterns. You're not paranoid for connecting dots. I'm not saying every weird behavior means an affair. I'm not saying snoop on your partner's phone at the first hint of discomfort. But if you find clear evidence and then get told you're imagining it, that's a mindfuck you don't deserve. Emma, "you're imagining things," still echoes in my head. It's become this shorthand for all the times I've talked myself out of trusting myself. 3 weeks ago, I was a guy who thought cheating was something that happened to other people, the kind of thing you read about on Reddit while thinking, "I'd leave immediately if that were me." Now I'm the one typing out a too long post in the dark, while my wife sleeps down the hall in a room that used to be our office. Maybe in 6 months I'll look back on this from a tiny apartment I pay for alone, co-parenting my kid and rebuilding my life brick by brick. Maybe I'll look back from a therapist's waiting room where we sit side by side, less naive but still together. Right now I'm just a guy who saw a Goodnight Red text and decided, finally, that I'm done imagining away the things that hurt.